And here we go. Digital Adele back with another Hoops Profile Beyond the Backboard podcast for you with my co-host, Matt Hannafin. This is our College to the Pros segment where we talk college basketball, the NBA rookies around each one of those leagues, and we take some of your input and questions as we go along as well. How are you doing today, Matt? How are you feeling?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Oh, I am doing outstanding. Outstanding. I am locked into college basketball. I believe I watched 3 or 4 different college basketball games yesterday, which is a lot even for me, but it was good, man. I got some undiscovered talent that I found, and we're going to talk about him. I know you watched him as well. That is one Kayshawn Hall, and we will talk about him from UCF. But before I do, let the people know where they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
At MPH_824_. That's where you can find me at on Twitter. You can find me at mountainwestconnection.com, hotoutHoops.com, vendettasportsmedia.com, as well as playback.tv/5RSN, where Adele and I talk about the Miami Heat, among others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Talk about the Miami Heat, cry about the Miami Heat, laugh about the Miami Heat. We watch Heat games. We watched one last night that featured a pair of rookies that we're going to talk about here.
Absolutely, and we've spoken about them before when we covered Steve Ashburner, I believe is his name, Ashburner.
Mm-hmm.
We covered his rookie ladder, and we spoke about him because one of these guys was at the top of that ladder recently, and that is one Yves Missi. So we'll get into them. This is, as of course, is our Beyond the Backboard podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can find me, Digital Adele, on all social media platforms. But let's get right into it. Kel'el Ware versus Yves Missi last night. Potential galore from both of these guys. Athleticism galore from both of these guys. What did you see in that matchup?
It was kind of unfortunate because at the start, you got caught with some foul trouble, and so we didn't get to see a whole lot of just Missi and Ware minutes together. I thought Ware played very well. I thought that was one of his more complete games. Like, even though he only had 1 block in that game in 17 minutes, but he was deterring shots at the rim. He, like we talk about, like he used his size to his advantage. Like he played big. 10 points on 4 of 4 shooting. He was efficient. He knocked down a 3. I have more like additional thoughts on his 3-point shot and him just as a spacer in general. But I thought it was one of his better, like more complete games that he's had this season. And like he recently, in the rotation. So it's not like we have like a full season sample of with him to work with, but just from what he's shown recently, like I've been pretty encouraged by what they're doing with him. Missi wasn't as good as I thought he would be. To me, he looked, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but like you could see that he was like, especially in the Missi Ware line. I said Weesey.
You did.
The Missi Ware lineups, like you could tell he was a smaller big and like he was being out physical, I think, at certain points too. But like you could still see like the motor and whatnot. And like he didn't have like a bad game per se, but at least relative to what he has been doing across the league.
Right.
It was more of one of his underwhelming performances, I should say, even though, like, again, in the beginning, he did get caught with some foul trouble. And so that I think that kind of took him out of his flow a little bit, but he was okay. Like, it wasn't the best Missi performance that we have seen this season.
Right.
But it was cool seeing him and Ware play together. You and I were very intrigued about that, just heading into it and how that would go. But I think Ware caught the better of him.
No, I agree. I believe Ware outplayed him tonight. And Yves Missi, as we talked about on Steve's rookie ladder, he was the number 1 spot, man. So for Kel'el Ware to put up a performance like that, to outplay him, that is saying a lot. Now, there's a couple of caveats to that. There's a couple of things I want to get into in response to that. The first thing is that this is probably the worst game I've seen Missi play in probably like a few months. And it wasn't really anything technically that he was doing wrong. It was more just he was bobbling the ball. He didn't look strong and confident as he normally does. He just looked like he was, dare I say it, a little tired, a little gassed. He didn't have that same pop that he's had recently. And so that's not a slight, but here's what I do want to say. Coach Spo, I got a comment on our playback postgame show from a fan that said I said that I'm taking up for Spo because I said Spo is protecting Ware. And it's clear to see anybody that knows basketball, coaches basketball, teaches basketball, Ware is fitting into his role, and he's only doing a few select things. He's setting screens, rolling, and being a lob threat. That's his whole MO. There's no post-ups on the block. There are no spots where he's being a hub for these dribble handoffs. None of that's occurring. He's doing just a couple of things so he can keep his confidence up and he can excel. And he's excelling in those things. One of the things Spo said in his post-game is that Ware is defending the pick and roll well in his drop coverages, and that's what they need out of him. And I agree with that. He's been a very good rim deterrent. Protecting is the wrong word. No, it's not. It's not the wrong word. He is. Because if you put too much too early on his plate, he's going to have moments where he turns the ball over. I don't know if you've seen the other games, but when he gets the low block touches, he brings the ball down low, people rake at it, dig it out, and he turns it over. So they're eliminating that. They're trying to let him play fast without thinking too much, and that's why a lot of his stuff is that lob action. And the other thing, too, I pointed out on playback is he has a great rapport with Tyler Hero. Tyler came out after, I think it was Brady Hawk's interview from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Shout out to 5 Reasons. That Tyler and Kal-El hang out a lot off the floor. So they actually have a great rapport on and off the court. And you can see that because Tyler loves throwing lobs to Ware. And that vertical threat, it holds the defense from rotating over hard on Tyler. So it does a lot for you. He's playing well in his role. So he absolutely outplayed Misi. But to me, in the long run, do I think that's going to catapult him into the Rookie of the Year conversation? If he gets more than 16 minutes a game, maybe. But what I've seen from Misi, I'm still not all that disappointed. He had one bad game where he just didn't have it that night. It's going to happen. But Ware clearly outplayed him. He hit that one really deep three. I mean, it was like 26-footer. I don't advise that shot all the time, but it was in rhythm as a trail big. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Tyler does beer runs for Ware. Yo, Ryan, shout out to Ryan in the chat, man. That's hilarious. What do you think about the role that Kal-El's playing, how he's playing that role? Rhythm shots are okay, Eternal, but 26, 28 footers from your 7'2" guy is a win for the defense, especially when he's not shooting like in the high 40s. But rhythm is good. I do agree with you in theory. Those rhythm threes are good. Absolutely. But what are your thoughts on that, his role and how they're using him?
I have liked what they've done with him. Like you saw in Summer League, I think it was his first Summer League game. He wasn't doing necessarily the screen and roll. He was, popping a lot, and he wasn't making shots, and he was ineffective on that offensively. And then you fast forward to, games 2, 3, and 4, and then, when they go to Vegas and all, like, he was so much better just rolling to the rim.
Right.
Because we've talked about this before, but there's more than one way to create space on a basketball court. And I've written about this before too. His vertical threat is a dimension that Miami really hasn't had. Like, they don't usually utilize Bam in that way. They did when Dragic was there.
Right.
But they haven't had a consistent lob threat really at all over the last, 3, 4, 5 years outside of Bam doing it here and there. Like, there hasn't been a consistent threat. And then him being that lob threat, it opens up everything for everyone else too. And he has such a good wide catch radius, and he's 7 foot with all like the physical measurables and stuff is all there. He's very athletic, and so you just throw it up to him around the rim and he'll go up and get it. And like that's a threat that just Miami hasn't had, and that's where I think like guys like Tyler, like Duncan, even Terry in a couple instances have utilized him in that way. And it opens everything up for a guy like Tyler Hero when they are in that two-man game, 2-on-1 in the pick and roll. And that roll big, that drop big, oh, now he's going to shade more towards Ware. And guess what? Tyler has an open layup. Or better yet, tag defender or someone like that, they drift towards Ware. And so it's harder for that path. And so that opens up a corner three or something like that. And when you're able to get the defense in rotation in that way, it just continues to open up everything for everyone else. And then guys can attack closeouts and you're forcing longer rotations. And it's something that opens up the offense in a sense that Miami just hasn't had. Like, yeah, you've had guys pack the paint on Bam before, but you don't have a guy that, you just throw it up to him around the rim and he can go up and get it. Like, that's not something that Miami has typically had. And so if he's able to be utilized in that way and just keep it simple for him right now, because again, this is his rookie season. I don't know how many games he's played, but it hasn't been many. And he hasn't played many minutes on an NBA basketball court yet. And if you're getting him these reps in this offense, you want to keep it, for a guy like him, you want to keep it simple. You want to keep him engaged in that sense. And then everything else will fall into line for what he can do defensively. And like, again, his confidence is only going to go up if he's able to get those kind of reps. And I think that's something that's crucial for him. It's something that happened with Bam when he was a rookie. Like, they didn't have much on his plate. They had him as like as kind of a similar vertical spacer, just rim run. Like, you want him to do these things right now and then continue to add more to his plate as time goes on. And so that's what I think they're doing with him. And I think they're doing a good job because you see these kind of results and he's stacking these games together. I mean, yeah, it hasn't been every game hasn't been like a great game from him, but
Right.
like you see the progression. And that's something that you want to see, and you don't want to add too much to him and put too much on his plate too early. And I
I
think they're doing a good job with that.
No, I agree 100%. It's one of those things where he was able to perform and excel in the role that they gave him, which is a limited one, but he is excelling in that, and that's what you want to see. You want to see him stack those days and perform and excel in that. I'd like to see him hit the glass more. He had 5 rebounds last night against a primarily 6'6" team because Misi was in foul trouble early. You would like to see more activity on the glass. But that's going to come, hopefully. That's the thing we're hoping. Hopefully that motor can keep coming along, keep playing hard, hit the glass, go after every one of those rebounds, box out, all that stuff. But one thing that doesn't show up in the stat sheet with Ware or Misi are the number of shots they alter by their presence alone. And Ware absolutely altered several shots in that game and in prior games just because he's such a long, linear, vertical threat on both the offensive and defensive end. So that was really, really cool. I'm really interested to see what Ware can do in the minutes he gets, and I'm really interested to see how Misi bounces back. Even though he didn't have a terrible game, what did he have, like 7-8 points? He also had like 5 rebounds, a block, 2 assists. That's the other thing Misi gives you. Misi will facilitate out of his pick and roll actions or from that dribble handoff hub. We have a comment here, and I appreciate everybody stopping by. Appreciate all the views, the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The Ware and Nico or Hero and Ware minutes move me. Yeah, I mean, they play well together. They do. They definitely play well together. I definitely see a world where Hero keeps getting more and more minutes with Ware. Everybody pointed to Bam getting more and more minutes, but I don't want to make this about the Miami Heat. This isn't a Miami Heat podcast. So we are going to keep it moving. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit because Stephon Castle for the Spurs had been number 1 on that ladder for a long time. And he had got moved to the bench. And he hadn't been producing. To me, it seemed like they were managing his minutes so he didn't smash into that rookie wall. He's playing more and more minutes now, even with Vassell back in the lineup. My question to you, Matt, do you believe that Misi can hold off Stephon Castle, or do you think Castle will ultimately end up as Rookie of the Year?
I mean, assuming both are healthy,
Right.
I'd still probably lean Misi. Just because, again, like, as of right now, he's going to get, I don't know how many minutes is he playing per game? Like, is it somewhere like in the 20s, right?
Like 26 minutes per game.
Yeah, like I think if that holds up and he's able to stay healthy, I think like just based on the opportunity that he gets, and who knows, he may even get more as the season goes on.
Right.
I think he'll hold him off just from like a, because I think ultimately in the end they're going to look at production, and I think he's been the most productive rookie. I don't think that's like a crazy thing to say, just from what he's done so far through 34 games, and so I think that's ultimately what's going to steer him over the top. And that's not like a knock on Castle or anything, because Castle does things that don't, that aren't in the stat sheet, just from like a defensive standpoint. But I think when you just look at like what the voters are going to lean with, I think they're going to lean with the more productive rookie, even though like Misi's still been really good, just from like, again, a shot deterring standpoint.
Right.
So I think I would lean Misi.
So let me throw out a counterpoint here and play devil's advocate, because everybody knows how much I love Steph Castle. He's played 25 minutes per game. Even though he's been to the bench, he's still averaging 25 minutes per game, 11 points per game, almost 4 assists, so like 3.5 assists, 2.5 rebounds, almost steal per game. This previous game, because this is what I wanted to bring up, the previous game he played, he's back in the rotation playing 23 minutes per game. He had 16 points. Let me pull this right back up here. Yeah, he had 16 points on 62% from the field, 83% from the free throw line, so 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. Only 1 turnover. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be a very close rookie race.
For sure.
All right, cool. Well, let's switch gears and go to our college part of this. You guys are going to want to stick around too, because there's a college prospect that we're going to talk about that nobody's talking about. Absolutely no one. And I think that's criminal for how good he is. And he plays at the University of Central Florida. But before we do that, Matt Hannafin found a gem of a mock draft. An absolute gem. Shout out to Christopher Klein, who put this together for Fansided. Let me just bring up this display for the audience. I'm going to turn off our winter background here, show my screen, and you can see Cooper Flagg flexing there in this article. Number 1 overall, we have Cooper Flagg going to the Sacramento Kings. Okay. All right, Cooper Flagg, number 1. Can't argue with that. Dylan Harper goes number 2. They pair him with LaMelo Ball. 1, I don't see that fit. That's disgusting. And 2, that's fine with me. He could go number 2 overall and be fine.
Did you trade LaMelo?
Yeah, if you draft Dylan Harper, you trade LaMelo. For sure.
I don't know. I don't remember what LaMelo, like I know he's on like a max contract. I don't remember how many years are left. I want to say it's like he's still in the beginning of it.
Right.
And so that, have fun finding a suitor. But I mean, we know this league. Some team's going to take a chance on him. I just don't know who that would be and why they would give up those assets for LaMelo. But that's a different discussion for a different day.
I absolutely agree.
Like, I would consider trading.
Absolutely agree. Couldn't agree more. I just wanted to put the chat up there so our fans can see our chat going on. There we go. There it is. Wait, Troyal Smoochie Wallace? What, Ryan? No, that is not the draft prospect. Joel says, I feel like guards or wings get the upper hand in voting. If Castle finishes strong, he'll be the one to choose. Okay, cool.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's a great point. Fair point to you there, sir. But we have Kasparas Yakachonis, 3rd overall, going to the Wizards. Low key, if they could trade Jordan Poole in your backcourt, hold on, picture this. Your backcourt, it's Bilal Koulibaly, Bub Carrington, and Kasparas Yakachonis with Alex Sarr. Oh my goodness, you have something.
Hey man, you forgot about Kyle Kuzma. No.
He'll be gone too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, considering he's on a front-loaded contract, it's gonna be a more tradable piece.
Probably
More
by the
trackable
trade
piece.
deadline. Yeah, probably by the deadline.
To your Miami Heat, no. I think that's a good pick. I wouldn't hate. That's a good, solid backcourt,
Yeah,
especially with the size that Koulibaly and Yakashonis both have. I mean, Bub too, honestly.
absolutely. And then you have one Ace Bailey who's 6 foot tall, according to Matt Hannafin.
I see Scoot Henderson here. I was like, man, they're like the same size.
They're like the same
No.
size. That's right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Jeremiah
Rest in peace, Ace Bailey's
Fears.
career.
Fears is number 5 overall on this list. Now, I like Fears. I was working on a video to break down Fears, and a lot of people aren't talking about him. But number 5 overall?
You can speak to him more than I can, so I'll let you go off about that.
He's quick, man. He is really fast. He's got a nice outside shot. He plays hard. He's got to work on his point of attack defense. But he also, when he can facilitate, but his passing accuracy is not great. He's really going to have to work on his passing accuracy. And he's not the leader that Trey Johnson is. I have no idea how Trey Johnson would fall past 5. No clue how that would even be possible. But
I say, let me introduce a counterpoint to that, and this is just my, like when I see these mock drafts, like a lot of mock drafts that I have seen personally. Again, not that I believe all these mock drafts, and it's not like it's the end all be all,
right?
But a lot of them do have Trey Johnson like going like 7 through 10.
Okay.
And I wonder if that's just like their evaluation, the consensus evaluation, whatever it is. I'm higher on Trey Johnson than that. But there may be a world, again, so much time is left, but there may be a world where he goes past 5.
Do you think there's a world where Fears jumps into the 5th spot?
No. I'm saying Trey Johnson. I'm not.
Gotcha.
For Fear, probably not.
When you get a chance, I'm curious what kind of ceiling you think Rutgers has this year. Rutgers is going to struggle in the tournament because they literally only have 2 guys. Now, they're 2 very high-end guys.
Right.
But I think they're going to struggle in the tournament because Harper and Bailey have to literally do everything. Absolutely everything. Kaman Malowach at 6 overall over Igor Denman, VJ Edgecombe, Con Knippel, and Trey Johnson. Is he that big of a difference maker at 7'2"?
I wonder how much of that is fit.
Well, the Toronto Raptors need a big man, but I don't see how you pass. First of all, the people that have not watched Igor Denman, I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong. It's Jaeger Denman. For people that have not watched him shoot, watched him facilitate the way he moves at 6'9", like he's a much smaller guard, there's no planet am I passing up on Jaeger Denman for Malowach. I'm just not.
Yeah, I'm with you. Also, he was out for almost a month with injury, and so we haven't seen a whole lot of him lately. I think he just returned. I want to say they played Arizona State for their opening Big 12, and like he returned for like his first game in nearly a month, just a couple of days ago.
Right.
So I haven't watched it.
But that's more of like
go back and watch that.
Content creators are going to do that. Me as an evaluator, his injury is not moving the needle on my evaluation of him.
Right. I'm just saying, like, we haven't seen him against like crazy I mean, for the most part, I think there was a couple like non-conference games literally in there where it was like good competition.
Right.
Like heck, I was watching a game and I was amazed by what he was doing, but it was against like Idaho.
Right.
Like, what am I like in the end evaluation? How much is this going to matter?
True.
Versus like big. So I'm interested to see how like Big 12 play goes. Even though I'm completely with you. I'm completely with you. Just
VJ
add some
Edgecombe.
context.
VJ Edgecombe at 8. That's fine. I could see it. I could also see him going higher than 8. Con Knipple.
Agreed.
Con Knipple is just a basketball player through and through, man. He
goes to the Thunder, dude.
Oh my goodness.
Literally the Thunder, like in this spot, Thunder can take anyone. Like they could take Trey Johnson, right? Boogie. Like, I mean, it would kind of be weird for them to take Boogie, considering they have
Shea,
Topic, and Shea, and J-Dub, and Casey. Right. But like, you get the point. Like,
if Boogie Fland lands with the Spurs, a backcourt of Castle and Fland paired with Wemby for years to come, really good, man. Really good. I love Boogie Fland, dude. I love that guy's game. LeBaron Phillips.
Trey Johnson in Detroit. With
Cade.
The shooting that they need, like I know Beasley, I know Hardaway, like those guys are there. They're shooters. There's a reason why, like Tobias is there. He signed, I think it was like a 2-year deal. Like they have still some shooters there, but like to where that shooting was at, like last year, it was awful. Simply awful. And now you add Trey Johnson to that mix, who's just a 3-level, 2.5, whatever you want to call it, bucket getter. No, that's gross.
And Trey Johnson is a born leader. And he's the leader as a freshman of that Texas team. Cade is a more lead by example type of guy. Trey would fill that leadership void of that team and bring it together so it would be a Soar Thompson, Cade, and Trey Johnson. Dude, the future is bright for the NBA. I'm loving this 2025 draft and the possibilities that it have. Ryan chimes in again. Guys, also, outside of Ryan and regular chat, if you want to send us a super chat, feel free. I'll read your questions on the pod every single time. Ryan, friend of the show, he's been around for a long time, so I'm going to continue to read his as well. Have you done a talent tier for this draft? I'm glad you bring that up because me and Matt Hennepin are not only going to do a podcast on tiers, but we're going to do a stage show on the 5RSN Discord about tier rankings of these prospects. So we are going to do one, but we have not done one as of yet. Is there a noticeable drop-off somewhere in the teens or the 20s? There's always a drop-off. Mm-hmm. No matter what draft it is, there's going to be a drop-off. That being said, the 10 to 15 talent is so high in this draft, even if there's a drop-off, they're still quality players. It doesn't mean that they're bad. There just is a little drop-off in talent. LeBaron Philin. I need to watch him more for Alabama. He's not an elite athlete. Yo, Ryan with the cup of coffee, the $5 super chat. I appreciate you, man. Way to kick it off. I appreciate you, dude. Super chats are awesome, guys. Give Ryan some love in the chat for that. But yeah, man. I mean, he's just a steady playmaker, man. He's got great finishing touch. He's dialed in defensively. He's just a good role player. Him and Reed Shepherd, Amen Thompson in the backcourt, that would be really tough, man. Really tough. Half a cup. Listen, I buy coffee and make my own coffee. I don't go to Starbucks, man. I'm cheap like that. So that's a full cup of coffee for me. Liam McNeely at 13 is just wild to me. Wild. And Jason Richardson's son, 6'3" point guard for Michigan State at 14. We didn't even get to the international guys yet. Some of those international guys are going to go high. I know you haven't watched any international players yet. I know. We have Noah Essen. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm going to butcher it. But Noah, he's 6'10", dude. He's a 6'10" guy. Ceiling, a real high ceiling, switchability defensively. I like him. I haven't watched Ben Seraph yet. Colin Murphy Boyles ahead of Derek Queen. In what
We talked
universe?
about this last time.
In what universe? I don't understand that one at all. Murphy Boyles is like a similar player to Derek Queen, but smaller and less skilled. Even though he's skilled, but he's less skilled than Derek Queen. We got the international guys going: Noah Penda, Nolan Traore. Nolan Traore is really good point guard. If he goes at 19, you're getting a steal. You are getting a steal.
Utah too, where they just got Collier last year.
Right. Cam Jones at 20. I love Cam Jones. But Cam Jones at 20?
But look at where he's going.
You got Dink Pate. You got Thomas Sorber. I watched some highlights of Sorber. I couldn't find any Georgetown games to watch. I really wanted to watch him. He's an old school center.
Is he?
Yes. Very good feet on the block. Great hands. Great touch around the basket. He's got a nice foul line jumper. And this is what I mean by like old school big. He shoots nothing but middies. He takes very few threes, but he knocks down his middies. Now, caution yourselves. I'm going to bring up a name. I'm not saying he's good as these players. I'm saying his mid-range shot is reminiscent of how these players used to get their shots. Hakeem Olajuwon in the mid-range. Patrick Ewing with those mid-range shots. Old school big around the basket, good footwork, drop steps. Those styles of big.
Mm-hmm.
He's not those guys. Now, again, I haven't isolated him. In fact, in this fan-sided article, they said he's like, they're looking for life beyond Clint Capella. So he would be a step up over Clint Capella in their eyes. Now, Capella's been cooked for quite a while. So I don't know if that's a compliment or not. Hugo Gonzalez, I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of him. I tried, but he doesn't play a lot. I've watched 3 Real Madrid games, and when I say watched, I mean fast forward until I find Hugo. And he just doesn't play a lot. I didn't get to really watch him. Asa Newell, all the way down to 24, is bonkers. Bonkers. I don't understand that one at all. Derek Queen at 25. Your boy, Neat Clifford, up to 26. Shout out to the Mountain West.
Hey, listen, man, that's would be what I'm trying to remember what draft was Roddy like. Memphis drafted him like they love Colorado State players. What can I say?
They love Colorado State players. Janai Broom, who I'm sick of hearing about, is at 28. Super sick of hearing about him. But my guy I watched yesterday, Rasheer Fleming from St. Joe's. Shout out to Jameer Nelson and Delonte West. For St. Joe's, he is a 6'9", fluid-moving, three-point shooting, athletic menace on the offensive end. However, his defensive IQ needs some work. Because like KZ Okpala, he will jump at everything, and he fouled out of that game. But he is a knockdown three-point shooter, shooting 41% from three at 6'9". He screens well. He makes good decisions with the basketball. Just on the defensive end, he jumps at everything. And we're going to leave it there. So that was the fan-sided mock draft that blew my mind, that had Derek Queen at 25, Asa Newell at 24, Hugo at 23, Cam Jones at 20. It doesn't make any sense.
Again, Cam Jones, I think, look at where he's going. They need that.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do. They need.
I think that's actually if that actually happened in real life, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of terrifying.
It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. It definitely makes sense for sure. But we're also going to see trades on draft night. We're going to see trading up, trading back. We're going to see a lot of movement because there's so much talent in that top 15. Before we move on, to the next. Well, before we move on to the next topic, we are going to check in on our poll question. Let me pull that back up. Let's see. And the poll, who is the better prospect player, Ware or Misi? The heat bias is strong on this channel. 60% say Ware, 40% say Misi. It was very close until someone thundered in. I'm not mad at it because Ware has the potential to be a top 10 pick. If he didn't have the motor concerns, he would have been a top 10 pick.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's literally the only thing that stopped him from being a top 10 pick. But let's move on. There's a player and a prospect that nobody's talking about in college basketball. He played in the Mountain West briefly.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went to George Mason University. And now he's at the University of Central Florida. His name is Keyshawn Hall. I went into this game to get another look at JT Toppin, who I've seen before. Your guy from the Mountain West.
One of them.
And as I was watching this game, somebody immediately popped off the screen for UCF, and I was like, who is this guy? He's a lefty. He's got good size. He can handle. He makes good decisions out of the double team. That's got to tell you another thing. He was being double teamed.
Yep.
And he was still scoring. Inside, outside, off the bounce, in transition. Tell me what you saw from Keyshawn Hall.
I was only able to, I told you this, I was only able to watch like a little bit of or I watched the first half and a little bit of the second half. And so I still haven't gotten through the whole game yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that was such a rude first half. What he did to Texas Tech, even like, just to put into some context, JT is like a really good, at least I think, a good defender. Darian Williams, who's another one of my guys,
right?
Who plays for Texas Tech, who was getting some reps on Hall, is another like solid defender. I don't know where they would stack up in terms of like Big 12 defenders or anything, but like two solid players, two solid defenders,
right?
And literally the entirety of the first half, it was just him or at least the beginning and the onset, attacking closeouts, attacking the rim, getting to that left hand. And then he had like a couple like hezzy crossovers, just finding different ways to get to the rim. And then when he was in the post, like really good footwork,
right?
Really sound footwork. And then when they were doubling him strong side, he was making the right reads out of those passes. And then knocking down, like there was a point where they were sacking off him a little bit and he was just knocking down shots. Like, I don't know what his 3-point percentage is, but it certainly improved.
36%. 36%.
Yeah, like not a little bit of a low release for like a left-handed stroke, but like at that size, he's 6'7", 6'8".
Right.
He was getting it off pretty easily. Toppin there was one rep where Toppin had a long closeout and just fouled him terribly. Didn't call it, still made it. Like he was really sound offensively, and you could tell like the decision making was good. He was processing what he was like seeing in front of him really quickly, making accurate reads, and then just again the skill, the handle, getting to his shots, getting to his spots, and he had like a solid motor defensively. Like, I don't want to just like shine light on his off. Like, he was like, he had a good motor defensively too, and he was like crashing the glass, doing all the little things that he needed to do. Like, he had a really good first half, or at least, again, I haven't gotten through the whole game yet. My brain works in mysterious ways.
Your brain?
Yeah, my brain works in mysterious ways. So like sometimes, like when I'm trying to, like, I have to take a little bit of a break before I get back to the second half.
I gotcha.
Process everything. And no, he was terrific. He had like, I want to say it was like 18 first half points, something crazy like that. But no, that was my first time like really locking into him this year again. Like, he had a cup of coffee at UNLV.
Right.
I didn't really watch him at George Mason, and then this year, I want to say there was a game that I did watch that was UCF. I can't remember which one it was, but I wasn't like locking into him or anything like that. And so this was like my first time like really locking into him. I obviously love watching Texas Tech because of Toppin, because of Darian. But he definitely popped off the page among like above those two in that game. From my at least in the first half that I saw. I know JT had a good second half, but from what I saw in the first half, he was definitely the best player on the floor whenever he was on the floor.
He really was. And what happened in that game, UCF stopped going to him. I don't know why, but the other players, I guess, felt had a better matchup because he was drawing so much attention. They stopped giving him the ball. He just stopped getting it. And that's whenever they started to come back. Texas Tech started to come back in the game. For those who've just joined us, Guru-san asked, who are we talking about? We're talking about Kayshawn Hall from the University of Central Florida. This kid has such an advanced offensive package. He's only a junior. He's not a senior. He hasn't been in school for, 12 years or anything like that. Because that was the first thing I checked. Because when you don't hear about these guys that are this talented, what's wrong with this prospect? Why haven't we heard about this guy? And he is just outstanding, man. Lefty, confident, super confident, plays hard, rebounds. Because he's a forward and he's this is what I envision, right? When I see him play, he's a matchup nightmare at the next end, at the next level, like a Herb Jones, like a Trey Murphy. Different type of player stylistically, but matchup nightmares because they can play big if they need to. They can play in the post if they need to. They can play on the perimeter if they need to. Now, there's some things I would tweak about his jump shot, but it goes in. 36% for a forward is not bad, man. And he can still improve. He's not, I don't think, at a ceiling. The one thing in the evaluation that I would say, he's a limited athlete. I didn't see any amazing explosion from him, but he uses his body well. And I think he has more room to get into better shape. I think he's going to need to get in professional shape at the next level. And if he goes to a developmental organization like the Miami Heat that can do that, I think he's going to have a great trajectory for what he's going to be able to do in the NBA. Your closing thoughts on Hall. I know you didn't get to watch him, but how do you think he projects at the next level? And what would you like to see better from him?
Do you mean professional shape in the sense that he needs to get stronger?
Yes.
Because that's where like I would go. Because I mean, he's what, 6'7", but he looks like he's like 185.
Right. Like but he's not defined. He doesn't have any definition on his body.
That's what I mean. Like he's not a big guy. Like he's not like I think he plays stronger than he is.
He definitely does.
He still needs to get, that extra sort of oomph to him.
Yeah, his man strength.
Yeah. I like the 36%, because again, the shooting, like the form did look fun. It was going in.
Right.
And that's why I was saying like the form was a little bit funky. Like to me, he seemed more like a guy who plays inside out.
Yes.
And so I'm very interested to see like what he does against better caliber athletes as Big 12 play goes on. Because again, like you go up against teams like Houston, like Kansas, like you're going to be facing some NBA competition, regardless of where some of these guys do get drafted, and like if they even like play, like some of them may go undrafted, but like just seasoned players. Because the Big 12 ain't no joke. It's one of the best conferences in the country for a reason. And so like I'm very interested to see as time goes on how that goes. But like again, he just did that against two NBA or I had one NBA caliber. I'll throw Darian in that mix because I love
your Nevada bias.
He's a good player. He didn't have a good game against Texas or against UCF, but or at least the first half that I watched, it was one of the.
He didn't. It was JT Toppin.
One of the least impactful Darian games that I can remember watching.
Right.
That's again, you're probably going to go undrafted anyway. But that's my point. Like, at least JT is an NBA caliber player, and like he was cooking. He was cooking anyone in front of him.
Anybody on the
So
perimeter,
like,
anybody on the inside, anybody.
yeah, and so like it wasn't like he wasn't doing it against no, he was doing it against somebody.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, this is a guy that I'm going to track the rest of the season just to see how it goes because it's like
Intriguing, right?
Yeah, for sure. And again, 1 game sample. Who knows what to make of it in the end, really.
Well, he averaged 16 points per game at George Mason. He's averaging something similar at UCF. So it's not a flash in the pan that he can put the ball in the hoop.
Right. And A10's a good conference. Like it's not one of these power conferences, but like up with the Mountain West, it's one of the best like it's a solid conference.
It is.
I believe George Mason is in the A10, right? I'm not like
I believe they are. Let me double check. Hold on.
Because like that's one of the better conferences, like it's Mountain West Coast Conference with Gonzaga and St. Mary's, San Francisco, and then the A10 with VCU.
It is the A10.
Yeah, like it's and I think it's typically been one of the better A10 programs. So it's not like he's going to like it was a bad program.
Right, and now he's in the Big 12.
Correct.
So competition is good, and he's still producing. And the other thing is, I noticed he has vocally outward leadership traits. Even if he's not like, I would say the most composed guy, he gets a little fiery, which I like. But he does try to get his players in the right spot. He was really frustrated with his fellow big man, the 7'2" guy, because he kept getting out of position and jumping at pump fakes. And he kept telling him, he's like, stay down, like stay on your feet, just be tall. Where have we heard that before? Kello, where? But anyway, so here's his stats. I pulled up some of his stats from college basketball, Sports Reference, and he's shooting at UCF this season. He's shooting worse than he did last year from the line, 3-point line, like 33%. At George Mason, on higher volume, he shot 36%. And then his freshman year, he had shot 50% on low volume. But his field goal percentage is good for his career, about 46%. Free throw percentage is about 81%. 5.5 rebounds per game. That's pretty good. He's not just a scorer. Not just a scorer. Let's talk about JT Toppin. The end of that game, the whole comeback was all JT Toppin. The guards did a little bit.
You've heard me talk about him. What's your eval on him? Just like a quick summary of what you think.
So JT Toppin is an undersized, old school big. If he's going to play center, he'd be undersized. If he played power forward, he'd be undersized. He doesn't have an ability to translate at any point to a wing. He's going to have to be a big.
Yeah.
With that being said, he gets over that right shoulder every time, regardless if you know it's coming or not. He gets over that right shoulder, has a beautiful left-handed jump hook. He's not like Baycott, because here's the thing I always had with Baycott, and this is why he didn't make it get drafted. He had no real low post moves. He was just stronger than everybody, pushed people around. Toppin is strong physically, but he's got a talent, and that's that left-handed hook, and you cannot stop it. He's got a motor that never quits. He rebounds well, shoots his free throws well, and I think he's going to be a role player from day one in the NBA. Is he going to be a starter? Probably not. But he's going to be around for 15 years. That's my view on him.
Okay.
Because he does all the dirty work. He does all the little things. Right. He'll take charges. He'll stay long. He's not tall, but he'll keep his arms up and stay tall. He'll rebound. He'll defend, play hard. And like I said, that left-handed jump hook, because the one thing you need if you're not a high, like super athletic, super skilled guy, You need one elite skill. And that one elite skill is that lefty jump hook, and he gets to it every time. Nobody blocks it.
I said this during our stage show. Please go, especially if you're a Miami Heat fan, love the draft coverage. Please go subscribe to Off the Floor, $2.99 a month, $3.99 for Apple. But one thing that I talked about during our stage show there was that's going to be scouted.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my concern. Like, he gets to it every single time. Like, there was at one point during that game where he shot a right-handed hook shot, and I thought I was losing my mind. I was like, he didn't go left.
Right. What happened? He's not supposed to do that.
And he completely missed it. It just went off the backboard. Like, he wasn't even close.
Yeah.
But that at some point, NBA teams are smart enough to where when that's on the scouting report, when you're going up against NBA caliber bigs,
right,
that is going to be scouted. And that is like, I want to see some counters to that. Like, he's going to get to it at a decent, volume, obviously, at the NBA level. Like, regardless of what we say now or what he's doing now, like, he's going to get to it no matter what in certain spots. But I want to see more from his right hand.
Right.
And obviously, like, when I looked at it, he's only taken like 9 threes this year. He showed a little bit during the combine. Like, that was like the biggest point of him shooting like corner threes and like him not having a bad touch with it. Like,
right.
I know he's only like 2 for 9 or something like that this year. Like, that's not really in his toolbox. And I wonder if that's something that they're going to ask him to do at the next level.
He's going to try. I guarantee he's going to try to fix it, but that's not what's going to get him on the floor.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that's going to be like, I think that might be a work in progress for him over time.
Yes.
I don't know if that's going to be his role. It wasn't his role at New Mexico. It's not going to be his role now at Texas Tech, or at least it's not what it looks like it's going to be his role.
Right.
But like, to your point, he does the dirty work. Like, he's nimble enough. I don't think they do it with him, at least not that I've seen enough at Texas Tech, but like, he can switch multiple positions.
He can.
And he can defend guys on the perimeter, and he's got good coordination.
Yes.
And he's got good like foot speed. I don't know if he's going to be defending 1 through 5, right? I don't think you can really put that kind of expectation on any NBA rookie, let alone him, for example. But I think he's a guy that
elite ball handlers. He would struggle with elite ball handlers.
But like, I think he can be a guy that can switch multiple positions and like hold his own. I also do like, he's physical and strong. I want to see him get stronger because, again, to your point, he's 6'9", 6'10".
Right.
He's not gonna be a guy that's gonna play like 3. You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna be his role at the next level. That's not his role now. From a size standpoint, from a role, like, that's not what he's gonna be. And so you want to see him. I think he, like, over time, he's gonna have to get stronger. But I love JT. He was so much fun to watch last year at New Mexico because he kind of burst onto the scene and it was just like, whoa.
Right. Who's this guy?
Yeah, co-freshman of the year with Deedon Thomas, who is still at Vegas. No, he was so much fun to watch because it was just like I think I wrote something at one point, middle of the year last year, where I had him as like the defensive player of the year and the freshman of the year because I was like, this guy's so sick,
right,
to watch. He didn't win defensive player of the year. Lamont Butler, who's now at Kentucky, won it, and it was well deserved. But at the middle of the year, I was like, this dude is so sick. Like, I love watching him. Like, he does all the little things, everything that you want him to do. He can't space the floor, but I very much loved watching him last year, and I'm glad he took the step up in competition after testing the draft waters, and now he's playing really. Like, I know he just came back from an injury. I don't remember how long he was out, but it was like a decent amount of time.
Yeah,
and so it was good to see him back on the court.
Absolutely, he didn't look too worse for wear, so I don't think that it was too serious, the injury.
Right.
One thing I'm very interested with both Kayshawn Hall and JT Toppin is come tournament time, if they can get some wins under their belt, because that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
UCF.
What's their records?
UCF has 2 really big wins under their belt. One to start the season, and then they just beat Texas Tech. Let me take a look at what UCF's ranking is. UCF.
So I have Ken Palm pulled up. they're making me sign in
Because of course.
because of course it's not signed in as soon as I want to get onto it.
It's the way it goes, man. That's just the way it goes.
Jesus.
You know, I'm really surprised while you're pulling that up that Arkansas and Illinois aren't higher. It just speaks to how good Memphis has been, Michigan State has been, Mississippi State, which everybody's sleeping on.
Oh, Mississippi State is good. Dude.
We've talked
I
about
watched their
their
game
ball
against
pressure.
UNLV. They were flying.
Their ball pressure.
Flying around the floor.
Yes.
Flying, like literal, like they had literal wings on their body. They were flying around the basketball court. Like they were flying. It was just like, goodness gracious. Like I don't remember what the final score was, but I remember watching it. It's like they smacked UNLV upside the head with the 2x4.
Yeah, man, their ball pressure is outstanding, dude.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
I'm looking at it. So they're 26th in KenPom right now, which is just given how good the Big 12 is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
That's really good.
UCF is a little higher. They're 6th or 7th in the conference. 63rd or actually no, this is sorted on record. Never mind. That's not an accurate depiction of but they're 63rd in KenPom, which just to give you an idea, that's probably like a fringe tournament team as of right now.
UCF you're talking about.
I can look at their net rankings. Hold on, let me pull that up.
Yeah, look up the net rankings for UCF because I'm very interested because if you can get a guy like Kayshawn Hall in the tournament and he can get you a couple of wins, you know what I mean? His draft stock will go through the roof, dude.
So they're 64th on net, just on the outside looking in. They have 2 quad 1 wins right now, 0 quad 2 wins. Texas Tech, on the other hand, they don't have a single quad 1 or 2 win, but they're 28.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
But they have 4. They're undefeated in quad 3 and 4 games, which again, that's not as big of a.
But that's what I was saying earlier about University of Central Florida. They have those 2 quad 1 wins, which are huge. One to start the season.
Yeah, point differential also matters when it comes to these net rankings.
Right.
And when you look at what Texas Tech did during some of their early slate games, they just completely cracked these teams. I mean, for example, one team that they beat who's recently surged in the Mountain West was Wyoming. And they beat Wyoming by almost 50.
Gotcha.
And so I think that's going to move you up as time goes on. I'm just looking to see, like, they beat Texas Tech, which was a quad 1 win.
Right.
Then they also beat Texas A&M, which was a quad 1 win. But those came by 4 and 3 points, respectively, even though they were double-digit underdogs against Texas Tech on the road, and they beat Texas A&M at home. I don't know why they would be still 64th compared to 28th, but that's neither here nor there. They're still, again, they're in a really good conference. They can, stack. They could potentially get wins. I mean, if you just look at like how many quad 1 games they have because of the conference that they play in, like there's a chance for them to get some of these wins. And whenever you're talking about a conference like the Big 12 or the SEC, which has been the best conference to begin this season, or even like the Big 10, like, yeah, these teams are going to beat each other up. And so you're going to be stacking these quad 1 wins, quad 2 wins as time goes on. And so it's a room for them to potentially get into that tournament conversation toward the end of the season, just depending on how they play in these games. And hey, off to a good start with the win against Texas Tech on the road.
Absolutely.
As a 13-point dog, like it's hard to start better than that. So
no, you're absolutely right about that. I wanted to let everybody know before we get out of here what we're going to do going forward as we lay out our year to start this NCAA tournament time period. You're going to see a lot more prospect videos out of me. I know I've been a little bit slacking on that. I've been doing the podcast here. We do this Tuesdays and Thursdays live, so I appreciate everybody that joined us. A big shout out to Ryan for the super chat of $5 for the cup of coffee. Definitely really appreciate that. Become a channel member for only $2.99. You get all of our videos early before anybody else. special emojis and badges in our chat and all that. So I definitely appreciate the support. Big shout out to Ryan for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, like I said, I'm going to get to more prospects. I have a Fears video I'm working on. So I'm going to have a breakdown of Jeremiah Fears if you haven't seen him. I also have a video that I want to do on Kayshawn Hall now that we've spoken about him. So that'll be one of our next videos, but be on the lookout for that. Before we get out of here, Matt, tell the people where they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
At NPH_824_. That's where you can find me at on Twitter. I gotta change that at some point.
Yes, you do.
It was something that was like closer to my like actual name at some point or at a certain point, but I changed it like a few years ago.
Right.
I don't remember my exact reasoning. Anyway, that's not important. You can also find me at hotahoops.com, mountainwestconnection.com, vendettasportsmedia.com. You can also find me at playback.tv/5RSN, where Adele and I, among others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network, we watch the Miami Heat, talk about the Miami Heat during their games. So that's always a lot of fun. Or laugh at the Miami Heat, cry about the Miami Heat, whatever is going on in current, Miami Heat, whatever. Like, we'll talk about it. We'll watch it live. And so please go check all of us out there. Doing a lot of different things for a lot of different people, man.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you. I'm Digital Adele. You can find me on social media under the same moniker, any social media, whether it's Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, what have you. You can find me there. This is the Hoops Profile Beyond the Backboard podcast, college to the pros, which we're going to be doing all the way through the draft. We're going to then transition into summer league and all that. But I thank everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.